Hey,
Oh,
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh man, we got deja vu going on.
Hey,
We're back at it again,
I love it. I love it. Man, I'm digging that shirt, bro.
dude. This is the one of the guest shirts with the whenever I'm on a guest podcast,
That's
I ch-
awesome.
I change up the Hawaiian shirt so it's more free flowing whenever I'm on a guest podcast. Whenever I do my own podcast, I have a strict podcast uniform, right? I have the
Really?
black with pineapples, right? That's my Hawaiian shirt of choice. But when I'm on a guest podcast, I'm free flowing. I've got a plethora of different Hawaiian shirts that I like to wear, and this was the choice for today.
That's awesome. Well, it was a good one. So this means for everyone listening, they need to go watch the YouTube of the actual face-to-face
Yes,
side of this right
yes.
now
Here
to
we
see the
go. Get a
sexiness
good look. Get
and the
the
watch.
gold. It's just it's such a it's satirical. I don't mean to be look like a complete douchebag. I just do it because I think it's funny. It puts me in a good state of mind, and so yeah, we're here right now. I'm
I
I'm
love it.
I'm excited to be here, bro.
Dude, I don't do it. I won't do it on purpose. It just happens. Today's one of those days. I get my total douchebag look when I have like a Nike or Under Armour hoodie on, a snapback on backwards, AirPods in, and then I have my Ray-Bans on. So like
Oh man.
super D-bag.
Yeah, dude, I love it. You need like some type of cool like backpack or something, or like
Yeah, I could get like a blue backpack,
dude.
like a what's that? Is it Jansport? Like your normal like college,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
a
for
blue
sure.
Jansport.
Or just like a really obnoxious like neon Nike one that says Nike like in big letters all the way
Yeah.
across the back or something. That's it. That's it.
I wonder if now I don't have like how you have that watch. I need to go get like a chain, like a big fat pimp
Dude,
chain.
I don't have normally on my with my actual podcast uniform whenever I do my own podcast, More Than Fitness Podcast, go check it out.
Yeah,
And yeah, so always wear my grandpa's chain. He used to have this chain, and,
that's
and me and him
awesome.
had very, very similar personalities and charm and just ridiculousness. And so, in memory of him and to hone in his personality,
I
whenever I come
love
on
it.
these talks, I usually wear his chain, his gold
Where
chain.
did that like totally didn't plan on going here with this. Where did
It's all
that
good.
come from? Like where did the Hawaiian shirt, the watch, the chain, where did all that come from? Or are you just like, you know what, we're gonna have fun with this?
It come I used to do it like just for fun with I actually talked about this on another podcast the other day. I did it for fun just going out to bars and things, and it just whenever I put on a Hawaiian shirt, it's just you cannot take yourself seriously, and
No.
no one else can take you seriously either. And it's just like it's very whenever I have conversations with people, and the reason why I wear it for every podcast is because in the podcast you want to have a genuine and truthful
Sure.
conversation with that person, and there's typically walls up, and
Hmm.
there's you can break down those walls and get to that real person
With a Hawaiian shirt.
much more quickly if you make fun of yourself first, because
Yep.
they're often so worried about saying the wrong thing or trying to impress you or whatever. It's just like, hey, I'll make fun of myself first so that this is a safe space to act
Sure.
goofy or silly, or I just want them to be themselves. And so
Yeah.
that's how I kind of harness that energy from the get-go. Because if I was like in this professional setting, had lights, I was in this nice shirt, everything was very tip top. It's like then they might be a little stiff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I want free flowing. And I'm also big into stand-up comedy and all those guys as well.
Hmm.
So it's just like if
And
I
they all
can.
like Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah, well, it's just the silliness, right? Like
Yeah.
I did it a while back, and then it kind of just I started wearing them randomly for pictures just to be ridiculous and stupid,
I love
and it
it.
just it just kind of stuck on, and then the hashtag Hawaiian Shirt Gang was born.
Dude,
Um,
one of my favorite shirts when I was a kid that I wore all the time was um, my green. It had those same leaves on it, but it was all different shades of green of a
okay,
Hawaiian shirt.
I like it, dude. It's just you think of whenever you think of Hawaiian shirts, you think of the goofy dad with the sandals on that has the white long socks underneath it.
Yep.
He's got the Hawaiian shirt, he's got the khaki pants on. Um, maybe some glasses. He's a little hefty on
Probably
the
a
hefty
fanny
side.
pack. Probably a
You know,
fanny pack.
maybe a fanny pack. You know what I'm saying? He's probably
That's
got
what my outfit needs, is a fanny pack.
he's probably got some pins in his pocket or something. You know what I'm saying? It's just telling dad jokes, thinking he is the life of the party.
Yep.
It's just like I have bits of that in me. And it's just like whenever I have these conversations with people, it's just like if we're not doing it to have fun, and it's just like for my style, I want to have fun. I want the listener to have fun, at least if they can't see me just through the voice. But yeah, this is kind of how I harness that energy.
I love it. Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast again, my man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So a lot of my listeners probably remember you from the last time you were on, and in the intro of this, I gave gave your background, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. But I still want you to talk about you a little bit, as in I want to know what projects you're working on right now and what you're excited about.
Okay, cool. Right now, honestly, it's still a lot of just inner client work because we're adjusting from not having any gyms at all to, okay, I've got this band and this t-shirt
really
or something
cool
that I
soup can.
yeah, I've got some soup cans, I've got a gallon jug, I've got a suitcase. Like what can I do from this? I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna get creative here. So it's still a lot of heavy client work right now, and I'm not trying to overwhelm myself with everything and with that's going on. So yeah, it's mostly client work. And then I'm also working on my automated fitness product. I ran the automated fitness workshop a little while back. It's just basically an entire workshop and product on how to live the life that you want to live, but look good doing it.
That's awesome.
My whole thing is trying to find the balance between fitness and life, but making sure that you're not just in fitness, you're not just focusing on doing more. It's like, I want to do enough of the right things. So this is where my bodybuilding background and these very heavily evidence-based, I mean, I'm a registered dietitian. I went to school for this. So it's like, I want to take all of the smart people that I've learned from and all the, the research and the evidence and stuff like that. But how can I simplify that into, it's essentially, it's fitness essentialism. That's kind of what I came up with. And it's just basically the big rocks, like what you need to focus on. And it's just a relentless execution on the shit that we know works time and time again. And so I just tried to format it in a way that it allows you to kind of put your fitness on autopilot, so to speak. And it's just things that me and you probably do and other fitness pros, quote unquote, whatever, do on a regular basis. But we haven't really broken it down into something that is tangible for the quote unquote everyday person to understand and implement right away. This could be how we think about certain things, how we react whenever we fall off track, the things that we focus on to get the most results possible with, less work. And so, yeah, that's kind of my big pitch on automated fitness. But yeah, that's so coming out soon. Yeah.
Well, let's stay on that for a minute. What are in this way? It'll also be a good segue into maybe people listening will go buy that.
Cool.
But what are some cornerstones for that for you? Like, obviously you're not going to give all the details about it, but like in terms of making your fitness automated, I love the concept of that, or putting it on autopilot. That's because if you think about because I think when, at least for me, when you say putting something on autopilot, I picture a pilot in a plane going from crazy, like intentful and stressful situation to beep. Okay, now I'm going to shoot the shit with my co-pilot for a little while. Like, and that kind of energy is kind of when you say putting my fitness on autopilot, I get a very calm, like everything relaxed kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, what are some things to make that happen?
Yeah, sure. And it's funny you use that reference. The reference that I actually use in the workshop was just thinking about how people, well, not as much anymore, but driving on your way to work every single day, like how often you drive to work and you don't have to really think about it, right? You get in your car, you can turn on a podcast, you can turn on music or something or a radio show, and you can get to work without any real mental effort, right? It's just automatically, and even sometimes maybe if someone's going the same direction, say the grocery store is on their way to work or something, but they're not paying attention and they're supposed to be going to the grocery store, but they still go to work. Like they take the turn to go to work instead of the grocery store. And they're like, oh shit, I was in my head. I wasn't thinking.
Yeah. Done that.
They were kind of, yeah, exactly. You're kind of on mental autopilot.
Yep.
And so basically what I was trying to do with the product was what are some of the decisions that we can make that can eliminate future decisions? And we don't have to use willpower and thought process and everything, because we've got so much other cool shit that we want to focus on in life, right? So what can we focus on with our fitness to make sure that we're covering our bases, but then also eliminating those future decisions? So, for example, it would be like with nutrition, or actually with both training and nutrition. It's just like it's probably a good idea to track something. And so in the product, I go over a few different things that you can track. This is just a way to gain awareness. So if you track something, you're also going to gain awareness. And then what's also going to happen is another decision is going to be made, that you become more aware, and then you subconsciously don't eat as much junk food as you normally do, right? Or you maybe drink more water than you normally do, or eat more vegetables than you normally do. Another example would be, so like if you're in your kitchen, for example, there was actually this really cool study that they did in a hospital. Just to rewind for a second, they did a study in a hospital, and they had a cafeteria, and then what they did was they tracked people's purchases just on a normal weekly basis, for example. And then what they did is, in order to get people to reduce the amount of soda that they drank on a regular basis, all they did was they put water stations, like to get bottled water. They put more stations to buy water throughout the cafeteria. And then also, whenever you opened up the refrigerator, the first thing that you saw at eye level was water.
Oh, that's
you know what
genius.
I'm saying?
That's awesome.
So it's just like, instead of opening up that fridge and then you automatically saw some soda or something like that, that triggered that dopamine response before you even had the drink of, oh, that's like, I want that sugary soda, and so I'm going to get that instead of the water. The water may be, in the back or something, or on the bottom shelf or something. It's like we're switching that up. And another good example is I use my parents. My mom has, whenever you open up our pantry to our house back home, it's like there's donuts and cakes and chips. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the first thing that you open up, you see all these delicious treats, and it's like, what do you think your mind is naturally going to be drawn to?
Sure.
And so,
not
and
the
also
oatmeal, the protein powder, the protein bar.
That's, it's all hidden in the back, right? Like it's you're going to have to work for that. And so you're basically just doing the reverse of that. Like you want to make it as easy as possible for you to make the right choice.
Sure.
And so instead of having M&Ms and little treats all around the kitchen, like my mom does, right? Brownies, cookies, whatever, around around the kitchen. Instead, maybe have some whole fruit, maybe little packets of nuts. So not just nuts, because then you can grab. People know if you have salted almonds or something like that laying around, you can go through those, or the shelled peanuts. You can go through those like crazy. But if you have baggies, something with an end, right? There's an end in mind. It's just like a serving of nuts. Then you could have those laying around. It's the same thing with like bags of chips. Instead of having the full bag of chips, that's so easy to just mindlessly eat.
So easy to smash the family size bag.
Exactly, dude. So it's just like, instead, why not get the single serving bag? You can still have the chips, you can still get that, but make the end a practical thing that you don't have to think about. The decision is already made for you, that when you reach the end of that single serving bag, you're done.
Yeah.
Right. So it's little things like that I don't think is stressed enough, that I think a lot of us fitness pros may do naturally. Like we have in our fridge, the fruit is laid out well. We have all these healthy, you may have like deli meat and cheese and veggies and things like that are just more prominent. And then if you have cookies or something like that need to be baked, it's like you have them maybe in the back or in your pantry. You have the healthier foods, they're more visible. And then you have the unhealthy foods, quote unquote, the less nutritious foods in a harder to reach, harder to see space. So it's
No,
just
I love that.
little things like that that makes the decisions for you so that you don't have to think about making the right choice.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really good. I think you're right. I think even just thinking about like my habits and how I coach, like that's something that I could do better with sharing that, like with my people, especially during times like this right now, because where everyone's at home more than ever, where their routine and rituals, because that's the thing is the biggest believer in is to really get a lot of success in this kind of thing is everything goes back to our habits, routines, and rituals, because we go on autopilot. You just said it way better than I did. But right now, everybody's stuff, they have no habit, routine, and ritual, because I see a lot of people who, let's say they have their very regimented work day. They get up, they probably have a small breakfast, they go to work, they have this little 30-minute gap for lunch so they can't do too much damage. Then they work till 5, then they come home and have dinner. Versus now they're at home all day and the kitchen is literally 7 feet away with probably things, you know, the Oreos are probably on the counter versus on top of the fridge, and things like that. So I think that's such a good point.
That's exactly it. And then you have also, and I'm not saying to not have those delicious treats, because I'm a huge fan of it. But what I'm saying is make it more difficult. This is what it is the macro principle is keeping the trigger foods out of the house, right? That's what you hear everybody say. And I recommend that too, because even if you make it hard to reach or hard to see, we're still tempted to go grab it sometimes. So sometimes you may have to just keep those trigger foods out of the house completely. But if you can manage it a little bit easier, and the reason you do that to keep the trigger foods out of the house is because it's much less likely for you to drive to the store, get the trigger food, then bring it back, or to go and like get fast food somewhere, right? That's much less likely and takes much more willpower to accomplish.
An effort.
Yeah, exactly. An effort than just having it right there in your home. And so basically with this, it's just like, you make the healthy foods the easy choice and the unhealthy foods the hard choice. And you do that by doing certain things, such as use aluminum foil over certain casseroles and things like that. So when you open up your fridge, you don't see that delicious casserole, that delicious cake or something like that. Just how opaque the container is, right? Like how clearly you can see through the container. So it's like if you have these snacks on or cereal is a good example. So you have cereal boxes that are in these very marketable, very colorful, vibrant, attractive boxes.
Captain Crunch and Flintstones.
Just like think of all of it. That you see them and you're like, oh my gosh. Well, they're advertised to kids, right? So of course, even as adults, we're still honed in by all the colors and the deliciousness response from it. So it's like, but if you take those Fruit Loops out of that box and you put it in a solid container that you can't see inside, it's just
like gray, like
boring. Exactly. You know, it's just boring. And so then you see it and you're like, oh, it becomes much less appetizing and it makes it much easier to resist than if you have that big king or family sized Fruit Loops box directly in front of you that's super easy to use, right? It's just like little hacks, quote unquote, things like that you can do to just make it easier on yourself. Shit's already hard enough. Like we need any advantage we can get.
Right. No, for sure. Now, do you have anything along the training side where you like to put this on autopilot? Is there anything training wise, or is it mostly nutrition?
It's with nutrition, you can get more tactical with like those little hacks and things like that. With training, and also training isn't usually the hardest part for a lot of people. So instead, what I do with training instead is, again, I go back to, okay, what can give me the most results with the least amount of work? And so this goes back to tracking something. You have to track something. And I'm not saying track every single set, every single exercise, every single set, every single rep, and the amount of weight that you use. But why can't you just track your main compound lifts for the day? So like 1 to 2 lifts for that day. For example, if we're doing squats and leg press, those are your first 2 leg exercises or something. Whenever we can get back to the gym, right? But it's just like squats and leg press. Those are going to be your first 2 main exercises for legs for the day. Why can't you just track those? And it can be very minimal, just the sets, the reps, and the weight that you use. And then that's what you look back at the next week. You don't have to track how many reps and drop sets you do on leg extensions and then the amount of weight. It's like, as long as you cover the basics of, okay, let's track 1 to 2 main lifts for each muscle group, or even just a movement or something, just the main lifts. Like, let's just track that. and then you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Like, again, you're not good. Like if you're trying to step on stage and be a pro bodybuilder and get that last 5% or 10% of results, which most people, me and you, and then other people listening, don't care as much about that.
Sure.
But we want to get most of it right. And so we track something, we track the main lifts. And then again, focusing on the main lifts is another one, just like picking compound lifts to focus on instead of focusing on dumbbell laterals or something. You focus on your military press. And then after that, it'd be like getting stronger over time. So tracking something, doing compound lifts, and then getting stronger on those main lifts. Like you're 85% of the way there.
Sure.
So at least for the everyday person, if you can do those things, the other results are going to trickle down, right? The other things that you're supposed to do on a regular basis are going to become redundant. Like those are okay.
Absolutely.
Those are fine. Those are going to give you the extra 5, 10, 15% of results that you're looking for. But it's like, why not, again, relentlessly execute on the basics that we know that work instead of worrying about, this having paralysis by analysis of all these other things that we could be doing whenever we're not getting the shit that we know works right on a regular basis.
Well, I see a lot of people. Yeah, no doubt. That's such a good point. I see a lot of people do that when I call it people getting tweak happy. People want to just constantly be tweaking and adjusting. And I I used to do my programs like that. I used to, because people like more variety and they like to be fun and exciting, which I still think there's merit to, but I found myself overly tweaking and adjusting clients' programs. And it was hella hard for me as a coach because of doing that to everybody. But then also, I would almost argue that was me feeding bad habits of them just like wanting to get tweak happy. And I was almost enabling versus teaching patience, teaching essentialism. And there's also a lot less confusion, as in if every week you're like, fuck, I got to learn all these new exercises. But if the past 4 to 6 weeks, you've gotten really good at your squat, your lunge, your hip thrust, your plank, these basic fundamentals. And then, one would argue that progressive overload in form got better, let alone just weight and things like that. But that's such a good point.
Yeah. And why not even to that point, you can kind of get the best of both worlds there. Why not? Okay, let's keep the 2 main lifts that we've been working on the same for the next 12 weeks. But then if you want that exercise variety to make things more fun for you, okay, well then let's just, the other exercises that you want to do, we can maybe choose different variations of those, or maybe every 4 weeks you could change those up, but let's keep the main lifts the same, but then the rest, so that you can stay stimulated, doesn't get too boring or things like that. Because I understand variety is important. However, if you're switching things up too much, then you have no idea how you're progressing. And again, goes back to that, okay, let's track something, the main lifts. Are we getting stronger over time? If you check all those boxes, you're likely on the right path, despite what accessory exercises you do on a regular basis.
Well, and I think also people get in the habit of like, I'm bored, I'm going to switch. I'm bored, I'm going to switch. Let's say people do that with their training because it's easy. Like, oh, I don't feel like doing leg press, I'm going to do hack squat. Or I don't feel like doing forward lunges, I'm going to do reverse lunges. And I get that to an extent, but I think that sets up bad habits a lot for nutrition. I think a lot of people get, because again, like you said, nutrition is what most people struggle with. I see people right around, most of the people that I see right in that 4 to 8 week mark, they get bored, the excitement's gone, and they're like, and they look over here and they get the grass is greener mentality. They're like, oh, progress is slowed with what I'm doing with Matt and Jared. But man, my friend on keto just lost another 10 pounds in like 3 seconds. Maybe I should do keto. And then, oh, I'm going to do Beachbody's program, or, oh, and then this. But my favorite example with when that happens is like, imagine taking your popcorn out of the microwave every 7 seconds and putting it in a different microwave. And then like, oh no, this microwave's got better wattage. 7 seconds later, oh shit, I want mine in a red microwave, and put it, and it's like, you're not going to have popcorn.
100%. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think one thing that I've said this before, and I think that it's right. I think it's right. Whenever I said it, it sounded smart, and some people retweeted it. So that means it's got to be incredible, right? But I said to,
is that duplicate account?
I said to pick 1 to 2 and this is going to take some filtering through, right? You need a little bit of skin in the game to recognize who is trustworthy in this game, in the fitness game. But I said what you should do to eliminate that shiny object syndrome of just trying to follow wherever the next shiny object is and constantly comparing yourself to this Instagram model or this diet or whatever. It's just like pick 1 to 2 and maybe 3 professionals, and maybe 1 in training, 1 in nutrition, and 1 in mindset or habits or something like that. Pick those experts and just shade everything else out, right? Like don't listen to anybody else but those people, because the thing is, so much shit works, but because you're bouncing from one thing to another and not giving it the time it deserves, that's why you're not making progress. It's like like keto can work if you stick with it. That's just the hardest part. But it's just like, it does work if you stick with it and you're in a calorie deficit, et cetera. If you're trying to lose fat, I wouldn't say it's the best thing, but it can work. And so that's, I think if people will stop trying to listen to so many different figureheads, especially in fitness.
I follow 1,000 accounts on Instagram.
I know, it's like that's cool. You can maybe take ideas or something like that, but as far as actual principles, like switching up your entire diet, switching up your entire training program, it's like, let's just listen to what these people are saying and let's stick with it for a while, and just see what happens. Like, the worst that happens is that you learn, like, okay, that didn't work. And you have to be honest with yourself, of course, and be like, hey, did that actually work? Like, did it actually, did I actually put in the effort that was intended by this program or by this diet, or whatever? Then you can't just blame the diet for sucking. It's like, no, you sucked. So let's fix that first. And then the diet variable, you can worry about that later. So pick 1 to 3 experts and just listen to them only. And again, you have to vet these people first, make sure they're trustworthy. So basically just listen to me and Jared and then unfollow every single other
forget
person.
everyone else. We're going to go inspect Instagram accounts and there should be only 2 following.
That's it. That's it. Your family, everything. Just forget about them.
Yep. Well, to be along that line, I think that's, being totally honest, is one of the first ones you should unfollow, because
that's fair.
I mean,
that's fair. I mean, at least whenever it comes to training and nutrition,
right?
Training and nutrition advice. Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Your Uncle Mike does not know shit about diet.
Yeah. If your mom's starting over on keto for the 8th time and she's serious this time, then you might be done following her. Let her do her mom stuff, but yeah.
Or Karen from The Office, right? She doesn't.
Karen from The Office.
15 pounds doing, X, Y, and Z. It's like, that's cool. You're not Karen, and you don't know what Karen's actually been doing. And Karen doesn't even know what Karen's actually been doing. So.
I had someone, it was probably one of the most crazy DMs along those lines the other day. I had someone tell me that their friend lost 90 pounds in 3 months doing this ungodly, I won't say the diet specifically, because people on here will probably go like try it because people are stupid, but we'll say they ate 500. They said their friend ate 500 calories every single day, incorporated certain shots. It's well known in the pregnancy community, and they're like, yeah, so what do you think about that? And I'm like, that's one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard. They're like, but she lost 90 pounds in 3 months. I'm like, no, she didn't, first and foremost. And number 2, that's fucking dumb.
And it's well, 1, it's N equals 1. It's just like, that's a group of 1 person that did that, and it was successful. And it's also just like, that's cool, but is she still going to be 90 pounds down next year at this time? That's what it's just like, I don't give a shit how fast you lose weight. Like, that's pointless. Like, that's not that's not even the most difficult part. It's just like the part that's hard is maintaining it for a long time. And that's, again, going back to the automated fitness thing, it's like, that's what I'm trying to get at, and make sure that people can use these things long-term, use these mindset, like how you look at food and how you look at training and how you look at yourself and your own identity and relationship towards fitness. It's like, let's make sure that life comes first, and then you use fitness to enhance your life, right? Like, that's kind of what I'm all about. And it's just, it's very difficult for people to kind of wrap around, because they place so much of their identity and their self-worth on their diet and exercise progress and their body progress and how they look, and then comparing themselves to other people, or how strictly of a vegan they are or something. It's just it's a slippery slope. And if you get all of your self-validation from fitness. It's like, okay, it's time to take a
Sure.
good hard look in the mirror and be like, okay, what I think my values are slightly
Hmm.
skewed here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the fact that so many people are willing to suffer and put their entire life in a bad place for fitness and fat loss is scary, because
Mhm.
like I'll see people for the sake, a lot of the time it's I'll see for the sake of time. It blows me away. It's one of my favorite analogies to use is everyone. If you look at, in my opinion, if I look at everything people are, whether it be marketing unethical products, or someone's trying to like do something that's all to expedite the process, because no one wants to wait 9 to 12 months. Everyone's like, no, 8 weeks is vacation and I have to look good naked. Like,
Mhm.
but if you look at any other thing in life, if you see someone trying to market or advertise or say you can get this without at the time, red flags go up. Pregnancy. If a
Mhm.
doctor came out and said, hey, I have a pill or a diet or a system that can allow a 9-month pregnancy to happen in 3 months, everyone would go bet,
Yeah.
because you just know time goes with pregnancy. There's no way to remove that. Or
Right.
if someone hits you up on your Instagram DMs, like every person has gotten that from that friend from high school you haven't seen, that's like, hey, I can make you $100,000 in the next month.
Right.
Where it's like, no, because making a good amount of money and building a legitimate business takes time, and there's no way to go. Very rarely are you going to go from zero to $100,000 a year
It's
in a
just
month of something brand new. It's
it's so funny how they can turn that away so quickly and turn that like, oh no, that's
right.
ridiculous. That's so stupid. But
But when
then
someone does it with fitness, they're like, take my money now.
yeah,
Like,
you put up a couple of fake before and afters of these models or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, they did this in 30, 60,
yeah.
90 days. It's like it doesn't like it doesn't matter if you can't retain it, if you can't keep
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And another point on that I wrote down is like suffering for the sake of suffering. You don't get bonus points for suffering
No,
more than another person. Like
no.
if you can drive to the store or walk to the store, it's like you don't get bonus points because walking is harder, right? Like
Right.
you get in your freaking car and you drive there. It's like, what do
Yeah.
you why would you make it harder than it needs to
Yeah.
be? And it's just a lot of people, yeah, they get off
Mm-hmm.
on, oh, I ate chicken and rice and broccoli for every single meal, and I'm just such a badass because I did that. It's like, no, I look at you like you're an idiot. Like there's
Yeah.
other ways to do this that are
Sure.
much more enjoyable and also probably better for your overall health than doing
Mm-hmm.
it that way. Right.
I never thought about it this way. This was another one of my favorite analogies. I can't take credit for. My buddy Ranbeer, a mutual friend of ours, was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one that
yeah.
said this on one of our podcasts. Uh, and it was one of the best analogies I've been using ever since. So I stole it from him. But it was the concept of, he asked me, he said, uh, have you ever gone on a date like with your wife or your partner, but you guys like argued the whole way there?
Mm,
And like once you got to dinner, you just, because you guys argued, or you were on your way to on the way to vacation, and like the kids were screaming or family was screaming, or because the journey side of it was hell, like let's say you and your girlfriend going out to dinner and
hmm.
you guys like argued the whole way about like something, when you
Sure.
get there, it's like it almost taints you're not going to just magically snap out of it. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, this sucks. And I think people do that. They're so willing to suffer on their journey. It's that once they get there, I think it's half the reason people are like, oh, well, this
Yeah,
sucks,
yeah.
you know?
It lingers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bad taste in your mouth from that argument leads into the dinner, and it's just like
Yeah.
things are just kind of off, and there's some type of residue. Basically, is
Yeah.
kind of what it is. It's what Cal Newport actually talks about in his book called attention residue. And it's about switching
Mm.
from task to task. And whenever we switch from task to task, we still have some type of attention residue from the previous task that distracts us from the current task we're
Sure.
trying to focus on. But to your point about them glamorizing the process, and then they get to the end goal, and then it's just like, oh, okay, now it's kind of like post-show blues with bodybuilding competitions. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you go through this very difficult period of 12 to 16 to 20 weeks plus of dieting, and you're so in it. Like this is your day in, day out. You're thinking about this, the
Yep.
show date, the competition, like I'm ready. And then I'm doing all this thing. My whole life is revolved around this competition. And then the competition passes, and then you're just like, oh, well now I don't have any goals to work towards. I
Yeah.
don't have any grandiose thing to work towards. And it's just like, that's the whole thing. Like this is the thing that we're trying to teach our clients. And I've said it before, it's basically just, it's the art of consistency, and it's the art of staying on track over time, because if you're doing this correctly, it becoming a lifestyle, it's the cheesy thing, like, oh, it's a lifestyle. It's like, yes, it is true, because you're going to have to be in shape for the rest. If you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you're going to have to do this shit forever. There's no end date. There is no 30-day, 60-day end period. I don't care like what program you're on or whatever. It's just like, this goes on forever. And so us as coaches, like what we're trying to do with our clients is at least, and I know that you probably follow this philosophy as well, but it's like, good coaches don't want their clients to need them forever.
No, I say that on like application calls. We're like, no, the day's going to come where we're no longer going to be together. And I want you to be bulletproof. Like I say that. It
makes sense, right? Like, that's what we're here for. We're here to teach you, like pass you along the stuff that that we've learned over the years, and how we are managing our own training and nutrition. And it's just like, we're trying to pass those skills along to you. And it's why things like meal plans or things like that, it's just like, it's a Band-Aid to a broken leg, right? It's just like, you can follow the meal plan for 30 days, but then, okay, you've learned nothing about nutrition. You've learned nothing about portion control. You may have learned a little bit. I don't want to give meal plans completely discredit them, because they can show people a lot of things along the way if they can actually stick to them in the first place. That's the most important. But it's just like, for the most part, it doesn't teach you about nutrition and your daily habits and your daily caloric intake and macronutrient intake like tracking does, which I think is just it tells you, like, whenever you first weigh out the the typical 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, whenever you see it, you're just like, oh shit, it's like, that's 220 calories, and that's 16 grams of fat, and that's 7 or 8 grams of protein. And then, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, and then after you do this for so long, you understand, like, okay, you can eyeball these portions, you can eyeball this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, after you do that, after you put in those I think it was Adam Ali who said it, Physiconomics. He was like, tracking is the training wheels to understanding your nutrition, and to understand like how to take control of your nutrition for the rest of your life. You need to put that time in first of tracking. And then that's how you learn so much, so that you can use it in the future.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and I think because a lot of people, and I'll overhear conversations, or people will say it to me, or family members, whatever. And they'll say it almost like they're surprised. They're like, yeah, I lost all this weight, but then I added carbs back, and then I gained all my weight back. Or it's like, or no, I did cardio every single day, and then when I stopped, I gained all my weight back. It's like, if you quit going to work, your boss is going to quit paying you.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And that's one of the things I know you and I both really try to hammer out with our content, and is that if this is a forever game, just like you said. And I think people, once they wrap their head around that, and they get rid of the 12-week timeline, they get rid of their expectations that progress is fast, quick, linear, and effortless. Like, I think that's when a lot of things go well. But I think the fitness industry and the state of like social media fucks with everybody's expectations so much. Like the fact that like, so I'm sure you have to have those conversations with people that know progress isn't linear. You're not going to lose weight every single week, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think Kyle Cease, we were talking about him on when I was on your podcast. He mentioned, he was talking about this in the world of expectations. It's not that someone hurt you, but their expectations of an outcome got broken. And it's not that people have an issue with progress taking a while, but when they were promised 12 weeks and it's really going to take them a year to lose 100 pounds, it's the expectations. Because there's a thing that happened when I was little that I like to, this is my favorite example for expectations is, I was a little kid. I was a Kool-Aid kid, right? I loved orange Kool-Aid, and I wasn't a big fan of milk. Okay. I just didn't like it. Not that I couldn't like maybe drink it, but your boy's picking his orange Kool-Aid. So me and my brother are sitting at a table on each edge of, we're sitting at a square table. So we're kind of catty corner to each other. Just I'm here, he's there. And I'm drinking orange Kool-Aid. He's drinking milk. I look at my mom and I'm talking to her as I reach for my drink. I'm expecting orange Kool-Aid. I take a big mouthful of nasty fucking milk.
Oh no.
Not that
awful.
like, It's like
I do that with, I used to do that with sweet tea and Coke whenever I was younger.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
whenever my parents would go through the drive-through or something, like my mom would get sweet tea. Like I'd be sitting up front
Mm-hmm.
and I would get a Coke and she would get a sweet tea and I would accidentally pick hers up and drink it. And I was expecting this sugary sweet
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, but
And you
instead I
got
get
nothing.
this kind of like bitter sweet tea.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, and I
Yeah.
hated tea. I was like, oh, it's terrible. I was like,
Well,
oh,
and here's the thing. To this day, I still hate milk. Probably if that one instance didn't happen, I probably would have liked milk and whatnot. But that one, first and foremost, that my expectation got broken in that moment. And that's one of my earliest childhood memories. Like, and just to this day, I still don't like milk, all because an expectation got broke. That's literally what the whole principle behind this is my expectation got broken. And so it made my experience terrible. So I think that's what ruined a lot of people with fitness and fat loss and progress is they think progress is fast, quick, and linear.
Yeah.
But then that expectation gets broken. And so they have this really bitter taste in their mouth for fitness.
Yeah. Or they just, their self-esteem and their belief in themselves. Cause then they might shift it back on themselves. Like, oh, I just didn't want it bad enough. My effort wasn't good enough. Like I'm not cut out to be skinny. If somebody's been overweight their entire life and then they go through that and then they don't reach their goal and they're like, what is wrong with me? They start thinking there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no.
Back to their identity.
Yeah. And it's just, I think outcome goals are helpful to give us this compass direction. Like we're going towards 12 pounds in whatever, like 90 days or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to try and lose 12 pounds in 90 days. Okay. That's my outcome goal. And then you can have daily process goals of, okay, I'm going to eat protein with every single meal. I'm going to have one serving of fruit and vegetables at every single meal. I'm going to eliminate snacking. I'm only going to have 3 meals and 1 snack per day and no other snacking in between meals. I'm going to have water in between every single meal to make sure that I'm staying hydrated, make sure that my, not having any weird hunger signals or anything like that going on. Little things like that lead to that outcome goal. And it's just, it can be that motivation to push you a little bit extra, to work a little bit harder because you have that end goal in mind. However, you have to realize that end goal is kind of just a mirage, and that end goal is then, because you're not just going to lose 12 pounds and then be happy for the rest of your life. It's like, that's just not how we have evolutionary, like that's not how we've evolved. And so we're constantly going to keep setting that bar higher. But whenever you can realize that and realize, okay, there's certain steps I need to take in order to reach that outcome goal, and then you do it, and then you build that confidence, you build that momentum, and then it's just kind of, you can continue to keep setting that bar, but realize that's an arbitrary, like 12 pounds in that 12 weeks or something, that's completely arbitrary. And it's just something you made up in your head. Like it could take a good rule of thumb. I don't remember where I heard this, but it's just like, however long you think it's going to take for you to reach your in goal weight, it's like double it. Like you need to double that amount of time just so that you can have realistic expectations.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. But it's a shame because, again, you do have forever to figure this stuff out. So it's just like, let's cut yourself some slack. And I'm not saying don't work hard, but also keep shit in perspective. Like, again, this is just diet and exercise. You're just trying to lose weight. And as long as you're putting in the reps every single day, it's just like you're gonna, as long as you don't give up and as long as you don't continually switch from thing to thing, you're gonna get there eventually. And if like you're gonna get there eventually, and you're also gonna learn a shit ton along the way from making mistakes, failing, getting back on track. But getting back on track, going back to the art of consistency, making sure that consistency is the goal and not necessarily just losing 12 pounds, but how can I be consistent on a regular basis with the least amount of effort? That's how you build a healthy lifestyle over the long term. Right. That's what we're all aiming for.
No, I love that. You know, what's hilarious is none of this was in my notes whatsoever. It's one of the things I love about our conversations.
How it always happens
is like whenever I do a podcast, I always have like a quick list of bullets, more things to talk about than I know I could cover, just because I don't want that awkward, like whatever. But like that's one thing that I love about you and in our conversations is, dude, I had none of this on my bullet list. None of it. It's just, it went.
I'm a chatty Cathy. I do. I love it, man. I love having conversations because I honestly don't get to have these conversations too often, because you have with us, it's like I have internet friends and then I have my real life friends. You know what I'm saying? Like I have all of these coaches that I admire and look up to, and I love brainstorm. Like, I love brainstorming with you and talking about whatever, cigars and wine and other things in life and stuff, like catching up. And for that reference, it's back on our podcast episode. This podcast, you should stop listening to this right now and go listen to my 100%. Podcast and not listen. No, I'm kidding. But it's just like, I love having internet friends and then also real friends. Because with my real friends, I don't talk about, automating your fitness, right? Yeah. we're talking about what my dumbass friend Ramy did the other day whenever he was at this pool. And, it's just like dumb stuff, just like stuff that's not related to fitness. But then we have internet friends where we can brainstorm and talk about this stuff. And so man, again, I like to talk. I think it's fun, and I enjoy the I feel the most fulfilled and stimulated after conversations like these and doing the podcast. Like I feel so good after doing these podcasts, especially nowadays with this damn
quarantine
virus and stuff.
No
we
kidding.
need this. We need this more than ever.
There you go. No, I totally agree. So one thing that I do have on my notes that I wanted you to touch on, because not when it comes to specifics about nutrition, especially because you are an RD, for you, I know this is a very broad question, but like when people talk about like, oh, well, it's just calories, it's just whole foods, or like, well, tracking, counting, but then intuitive, like for you, what are the essentials that you like to start people with? And of course I know it's individual, but when it comes to this, just for those listening who are like, because you and I both know there's all this shit about nutrition floating around the internet, and some from like doctors and other RDs or nutritionists and all that kind of stuff that's just blatantly terrible information. What is essential for you when you are working with someone with nutrition, and how do you start that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and the starting point that I'm sure that you use as well, is just you have to meet the client where they are, as opposed to like you can't you don't make the client fit your programs.
But I'm a keto coach. I make everybody do keto.
That's what I'm saying. You don't make the client fit your programs. You make your programs fit the client, and that's how it needs to work. And so meeting the client where they are, context dependent, is absolutely the most important thing. Like somebody who has necessarily never tracked their food or something like that, it's like, first you can start them off with, okay, so let's track 3 days, right? And let's only track like your calories or something, or just your calories and your protein. You could start them off with that. Somebody else who's like, oh, I used to be very obsessive with counting my calories, and I hate it now. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then we're going to use my habit tracker that I have. And again, this goes back to, you have an outcome goal, you have daily process goals. And it's like, okay, so again, what are the actions that we can take every day that will lead to that outcome goal, that we don't necessarily need to track calories on a daily basis? So again, this goes back to, if you have a large portion of protein and a serving of fruit and vegetables at that meal, fruit or vegetables at that meal, it's likely that you're not going to also be eating tons of shit with that meal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't have to say, and this is a big part of having an inclusive diet as a part of an exclusive diet. So this is like a psychology trick. Whenever you're telling people they can't have something, whenever you tell somebody they can't have something, instantly we want it. That's how it works. But if you say, hey, let's make sure that we get 1 serving of vegetables with every single meal for this day, it's like, what they're going to do is they're going to eat less shit overall, because they're trying to incorporate those vegetables into that meal. And you're including vegetables with that meal. Let's have at least 8 glasses of water today. If they make sure they have to get in 8 glasses of water, they're probably going to be drinking less soda. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's get in a side salad with lunch. And just by doing that, their hunger is going to be reduced because of the fiber and the food volume in that side salad. And so maybe they won't have as much hunger to eat a big dessert or something like that. Maybe they'll settle for something smaller, right? So it's things that what can we include in the diet, instead of telling people, no, you can't have soda, you can't have desserts, you can't have X, Y, and Z. Doing something like that is going to be helpful. So for the person who doesn't want to count calories or something, okay, that's fine. We're gonna make sure, like, can we check these boxes every single day, and actually use a point system. And so if you have maybe 5 processed goals, whenever you eat protein with every single meal, you get 1 point, right? If you don't, then you get 0 points for that day, at least in that category. Then the next one would be, okay, did you have vegetables with every single meal? If yes, you get a point. If not, you get a 0, right? And then at the end of the week, you can tally up how many points did you get. And then you can also see which goal did you struggle with the most? Did you struggle?
Sure.
Did you get zeros in the vegetable category? It's like, okay, this week, let's work on getting that up to 3 out of 7 instead of 1 out of 7.
No,
you know what I'm saying? It's just like using those little things like that. And I think I'm gonna write an article about that soon, because I would like to share that with more
That's
people.
really good.
I don't think enough people use something just as simple as that, because it can with the calories and the macros, sometimes you can get too much freedom. And whenever you have too much freedom, because don't get me wrong, it still can give you a little bit of rigidity in there. But whenever I have concrete things like, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Instead of them trying to necessarily figure out fitting certain foods to their calories and macros, which can take some time, but I still think that is necessary for most people to try and do. I think that yeah, you just meeting the client where they are is definitely going to dictate all the other actions that you have to take. And then again, then it comes down to, of course, yeah, your overall energy consumption, your overall calories for the day. It's pretty clear. That's most important. Getting in high amount of protein, that's going to be pretty important.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like getting that in, and then the getting in fruits and vegetables. But it's I like to focus more on the habits and the adherence over time, and then also what are the mental, like if I give them these certain goals on a regular basis and they consistently run into certain obstacles, and the most often is, oh, I fell off track on Friday, and then I kept eating shit for the rest of the meals on Friday, the rest of the meals on Saturday, and then Sunday I finally got back on track. And so again, the art of getting back on track, the art of consistency, it all comes back to our jobs as coaches for the most part is like just getting people refocused on the task at hand. You know what I'm saying? Over and over and over and over again. So figuring out like what mental blocks are they, like why did they eat that meal and then just have the fucking mentality for the rest of the day? It's like, why? Right. And then you give the car analogy where you slash one tire. It's like, you wouldn't just slash your other 3 tires as well. You would get back on track. So it would be things like that. It's just like, whenever you give them that type of analogy or that type of unlock, that can be really helpful. But also everyday activity, or on the weekend, if they want to go out and drink or something, go to the bars or something. It's like you can have some type of plan so that whenever you get back from the bars, you're not just going for that pizza.
Smashing Taco Bell.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I know this is difficult, but again, having some type of conscious plan beforehand, like you're telling me you want to stay on track with your fitness goals. And here I'm giving you a solution to go out and drink at the bars, making sure like, hey, whenever you go out, don't have a bunch of sugary mixers in your drink. Like go for hard liquor, go for whiskey or vodka or something like that. And try to avoid the beer and just really sugary shots and things like that. Just get maximum drunkenness for the least amount of calories possible.
Alcoholic essentialism.
Listen, that is the key. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah. Alcoholic essentialism. And it's true. It's just, if you want that desired effect, you want to get drunk. Okay. There's a way we can go about it with giving the least amount of damage to your fitness goals. And then what I want you to do, because we know it's very difficult whenever you get back from that bar to make the right choice.
Yeah, dude. I turn into a bottomless Taco Bell pit.
That's what I'm saying. But here's the thing. The reason why you may do that, and again, it's still going to be difficult because whenever you're drunk, your decision-making process is in the shitter.
It's terrible.
It's very awful. But here's this is the key with this is like, we need a pretty good meal planned whenever you get back home. And for me, what I tell a lot of people, this is a go-to, it's just like some type of deli sandwich. So having maybe turkey and cheese, maybe have even a little bit of veggies on that. Or even if you go to Subway earlier in that day, get yourself a good sub, even a foot-long sub or whatever, that's 600 calories. That's going to be better than the 1,200 to 2,000 calorie pizza that you're looking forward to. It's just like, come home, you have the Subway ready to go in the fridge, or Chipotle, or whatever the hell you love, right?
Yeah.
Like have that ready to go. Maybe a bag of chips, have you a Powerade Zero or something that's tasty. You're not just drinking water, but you're also not drinking caffeine that's going to affect your sleep more than it already is because of the alcohol. It's like, let's have some type of plan so that whenever you come home, okay, you can eat this and enjoy yourself, but it's not donuts and pizza and cookies and everything else you can find, right? So it's just, it's these little decisions, again, making the productive choice, making the healthy choice, the easy choice, as opposed to trying to, oh, I'll do my best. Because we all know that does not work ever, especially when alcohol is involved.
Well, and to be honest, like as shady as it sounds, most people's best is not good enough. Most people's best is not their best either, but most people's best is not good enough. You know, a lot of times most people's best is like, I'll try better next time.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen.
It's like, no, what does that mean? What does that mean? Like what you said, try better next time. Okay. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And this is where it comes in the automated fitness. One of the things I talk about is failing fast and never missing twice. And I'm sure you've heard of I'm sure you've heard of both of those, but it's just the never miss twice is to basically never have two shitty meals in a row. That's kind of a mentality you can have. Like, okay, if you have a healthy breakfast, then you have a shitty lunch. Okay, you have to have a healthy dinner as well. So that's what I'll try better next time. It's like, okay, whenever this does happen next time, you already know right then, whenever you screw up, it's not, oh, fuck it. I don't have any clue of what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to wait to reset until the next day. It's like, no, you know, the rule of never miss twice. You need to have a healthy meal prepared, a more nutritious meal prepared for that next time. And then fail fast is basically get back on track as quick as possible. And those both kind of work coincided together. And then another one would be my healthy, unhealthy meal. Anytime you have something that is less nutritious, you have to pair it with something that's more nutritious. And so the example I use with this is always Chick-fil-A, right? You always get, if you have the fried Chick-fil-A sandwich, you have the fried chicken. Okay, you have to pair that with a fruit cup instead of French fries. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like having that choice instead of the French fries. Sure, you're still going to get your fix of the fried chicken, but you're making that healthy, unhealthy rule, that healthy, unhealthy choice, and still getting the nutrients from the fruit, getting a little bit of the fiber in there, and you're saving yourself tons of calories from the French fries.
Well, and that totally combats people's, oh, fuck it. It's going to be bad or unhealthy, or I'm off. I'll just get back on Monday. Yeah, that just straight kicks that in the sack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's it, man.
My favorite.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my favorite is like, if you're going to have a Snickers bar, get an apple with your Snickers bar. Like,
there you go. Why not? Like, I think that's perfectly feasible, because what it's going to do, it'll maybe help stabilize your blood sugar a little bit better. You're going to get in more fiber and more nutrients as a whole for that day. You may be satiated for a little bit longer. Again, making that choice that will affect future choices so that you don't have to make them. That's kind of what I'm just always trying to, how can we be more efficient and effective with both of the things we're doing? So it's just like, I want the most amount of results with the least amount of work. And
that's amazing.
That's what we're trying to do.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Awesome, bro. That was a lot of good info and none of it planned for, which I fucking love.
It's 1:04 already.
Yeah, we're going for an hour, man. That's fucking awesome.
I told you, I'm a chatty Cathy. I
love it.
You set me on the path, and I will. I'm like a Rottweiler. I'm going after it. I'm full force ahead.
That's awesome. All right, bro. Where can people find you to learn more about you and your stuff? And then also when your automated fitness drops, where people can get that?
Yeah, for sure. So first, I think Instagram would probably be one of the easiest ones. And that's just at Matt McLeod 6. And so it's MattMcleod 6.
McLeod.
McLeod. Yeah. McLeod, McLeod. I've literally heard it all. But yeah, at Matt McLeod 6 on Instagram. And then my website is mattmcleod.org. And then my podcast is the More Than Fitness podcast, which you can find Jared on there twice now. Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, and it's at Matt McLeod 6 on all my social media. I think it's basically just Instagram, Twitter, then my website, podcast. YouTube I have on there. All the links are in my bio. So honestly, if you just go to the link in my bio on my Instagram, you'll find everything. And then
Everything.
Automated Fitness will be coming out within probably the next 2 weeks. So it's March 31st that we're recording this. So maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, I think Automated Fitness will be released.
Sweet. That's going to be awesome. So
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
I bet, man. Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you being on here, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, brother, for having me on.
Awesome, man. I'll talk soon.